Section 1. Anti-national associations, a threat to our nation. We all want a safe and secure nation. That's a no-brainer, right? But sometimes threats come from within. These threats can take many forms, but one of the most insidious is the anti-national association. These groups, operating under a veil of secrecy, seek to undermine our very way of life. They spread discord, incite violence, and weaken our national fabric. These aren't just your average groups with differing opinions. We're talking about organizations that actively work against the interests of the nation. They might promote hatred, engage in espionage, or even resort to terrorism. Their goals are simple: to destabilize and destroy. Their methods are often subtle, making them difficult to identify and even harder to combat. But combat them, we must, because the safety and security of our nation depend on it. We cannot and will not allow these groups to operate with impunity. That's why we have laws in place to identify, expose, and dismantle these threats before they can cause irreparable harm. These laws are essential tools in our fight against those who seek to destroy us from within. It's a constant battle, a game of cat and mouse played out on the very soil we call home. But it's a battle we must win for the sake of our future and the generations to come, because a nation divided against itself cannot stand. And we, the people, must stand united against those who seek to tear us apart. Section 2, defining the enemy within the legal framework. So how do we define an anti-national association? It's not as simple as someone saying they dislike Mondays or even disliking Mondays a lot. We're talking about serious stuff here. The law provides a clear framework for identifying these groups and the activities that qualify them as a threat. The legal definition hinges on the group's actions and intentions. Is their primary objective to overthrow the government by force? Do they promote disaffection and hostility among different groups within the nation? Are they engaged in activities that threaten the integrity and sovereignty of the nation? These are just some of the questions the law addresses. It's not just about words, it's about actions. A group might espouse radical views, but that alone doesn't make them anti-national. The law focuses on concrete actions that pose a clear and present danger to the nation. This includes inciting violence, promoting hatred, engaging in espionage, or advocating for secession. The bar is set high and for good reason. These laws are not about suppressing dissent. Criticism of the government is a vital part of a healthy democracy, but there's a big difference between expressing dissenting views and actively working to undermine the very foundation of the nation. The law draws a clear line between acceptable dissent and actions that cross the line into anti-national territory. Section 3. The Tribunal Guardians of National Security. Okay, so we have laws defining what constitutes an anti-national association, but who gets to decide which groups fit the bill? This is where the tribunal comes in. It acts as a neutral arbiter, carefully examining evidence and determining whether a group's actions warrant the serious label of anti-national. The process is rigorous and ensures fairness. Evidence is presented, witnesses are called, and both sides have the opportunity to make their case. The tribunal doesn't just rubber stamp accusations, they scrutinize the evidence, weigh the arguments, and arrive at a decision based on the facts and the law. This process is crucial for several reasons. Firstly, it ensures that the government doesn't arbitrarily slap the anti-national label on any group they dislike. Secondly, it provides a transparent and accountable mechanism for addressing potential threats. And thirdly, it upholds the principles of due process and the rule of law. The tribunal plays a vital role in safeguarding our national security while also protecting the rights of individuals and groups. It's a delicate balance, but one that is essential for a functioning democracy. Because in the fight against anti-national forces, we must never compromise the very values we seek to protect. Section 4. Consequences of anti-national activities. Being labeled an anti-national association isn't just bad for PR, it carries serious consequences. The law outlines a range of penalties for individuals and groups found to be engaging in anti-national activities. These penalties are designed to deter such activities and protect the nation from harm. For individuals, the penalties can range from fines to imprisonment. The severity of the punishment depends on the nature and extent of their involvement. Were they simply members of the organization, or did they hold leadership positions? Did they actively participate in illegal activities, or were they passive members? These factors all come into play when determining the appropriate sentence. For organizations, the consequences can be even more severe. The government can seize their assets, freeze their bank accounts, and even ban them altogether. This effectively cripples their ability to operate and minimizes their threat to national security. The message is clear: engaging in anti-national activities comes at a high cost, but the penalties go beyond legal repercussions. Being branded an anti-national association carries significant social stigma. Members might face ostracism from their communities, lose their jobs, and find it difficult to rebuild their lives. The law aims to deter not only through punishment, but also through the potential for social and economic ruin. These consequences might seem harsh, but remember, we're talking about activities that threaten the very fabric of our nation. The penalties reflect the gravity of these offences and the importance of safeguarding our collective security. Section 5. Protecting our nation, the importance of vigilance. The fight against anti-national activities is not just the government's responsibility. It's a collective effort that requires the active participation of every citizen. We must remain vigilant, aware of the threats that exist, and ready to report any suspicious activity to the authorities. Think of it like this: we all have a role to play in keeping our communities safe. Just like we wouldn't hesitate to report a burglary or a fire, we should be equally vigilant about reporting any activity that seems suspicious or potentially harmful to our nation. This doesn't mean we should turn into a society of suspicion, constantly looking over our shoulders. It's about being informed, aware of our surroundings, and trusting our instincts. If something feels wrong, if a group's activities raise red flags, we have a duty to report it. Remember, these anti-national associations thrive on secrecy and deception. They often operate under the guise of legitimate organizations, making it difficult to discern their true intentions. That's why public awareness is so crucial. By educating ourselves and our communities about the signs of anti-national activity, we can make it harder for these groups to operate and minimize their potential impact. Our collective security depends on our shared responsibility. By working together, staying informed, and reporting suspicious activity, we can create a safer and more secure nation for ourselves and future generations. Section 6. Balancing security and freedom, a delicate act. Now, some might argue, but wait, don't these laws infringe on our freedom of speech and association? It's a valid concern. After all, a core principle of our democracy is the right to express ourselves freely, even if our views are unpopular. The key here is balance. Yes, we have the right to free speech, but that right is not absolute. It comes with responsibilities. We cannot use our freedom to incite violence, spread hatred, or undermine the very foundations of our nation. That's where the line is drawn. The laws against anti-national associations are not designed to stifle dissent. They are carefully crafted to target activities that pose a direct and tangible threat to our national security. The focus is on actions, not words. Criticizing the government is one thing, actively working to overthrow it by force is quite another. It's a delicate balancing act for sure, but it's a balance we must strive to maintain. Because a nation that sacrifices its freedoms in the name of security ultimately ends up with neither. We must remain vigilant against both external threats and the erosion of our fundamental rights. So, the next time you hear about anti-national associations, remember it's not just a legal term. It's about protecting the very essence of our nation, our values, our freedoms, and our way of life. It's about ensuring that the land of the free remains a safe and secure home for all.